Firstly, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who has supported me up until this point. I am so lucky to have such smart, kind people in my comment section that watch my videos consistently. And I know it's depressing content, you know, like I try to add some humor where I can, or just make sure that I have like positive climate topics that we're covering. But overall, it's still quite a depressing issue, especially since we're really, as a planet, as a species, not moving as fast on the topic as we all know we need to be moving. But it can be a lot, and I recognize that. But at the same time, it's such an important topic to cover, and it's such an important topic to stay up to date on and to act on when you're able to. And so I just want to thank every single one of you for watching my videos and for caring about this issue, because you are really the ones that give me hope for the future, that there is a big enough populace of us that care and want action on it. So I am so grateful for this community. Okay, anyways, ignore me. Also, actually, one other thing is I have a little survey that I put down below, and it has just a couple questions just asking about what your thoughts are on the channel so far, just so I can help improve. And one of the questions will be if you prefer this style of background or a wall, because I've been noticing a lot of YouTubers have been doing like where they're close up and the background's further back, a little blurred, and I really like that look, so I thought I would give it a shot for this video. So you can let me know what you prefer. So yeah, okay, anyways, let's go ahead and get to it. This is my last video for the year. Oh my gosh. Hey y'all, it's Becky here from the Beckosphere, where we talk about climate news and solutions. You've entered a climate recap where we look at what is being done to reduce the impacts of and prepare for climate change. If you'd like to stay up to date with one of the most important topics in our lifetime, hit that subscribe button below. Today we will take a look at what has happened from December 4th to December 17th. This will be my last video of the year, so I will cover what happened for the second half of December and the new year. Before I get started, we have a sponsor, and that is Earth Hero. Earth Hero is a one-stop shop for everything sustainable, offering thousands of trusted, eco-friendly products from over 250 ethical brands like 4Ocean, Bees Wrap, David's, Decomposition, Drops, Elate Cosmetics, Girlfriend Collective, Meow Meow Tweet, Pellicase, Plain Products, Dasher, 10 Tree, and TerraCycle. Those are all the ones that I chose to include because I love all of those companies. Everything they sell on their site is made better for people and the planet. From zero waste living products to sustainable clothing, accessories, and tech, Earth Hero aims to have an eco-friendly alternative to anything and everything you need to purchase. Plus, they're a B Corporation, 1% for the Planet member, carbon neutral certified, and a Carbon Fund partner. Thank you so much, Earth Hero, for sponsoring my video and sponsoring my channel. Now let's go ahead and get into the news. Montana, North Dakota, Washington, Wyoming, and British Columbia, Canada have reached new heat records for December. 2/3 of the US experienced temperatures over 70 degrees for the first week of this month. The kind of thing that was previously reserved for places like LA or Key West. Now the jet stream is basically stuck over Alaska, Washington State, Oregon, and most of California. Everywhere else in the US might not get as much winter this year, basically. China's industry ministry, that's a mouthful. China's industry ministry released a 5-year plan to decrease carbon emissions by building green development and adopting green technologies in the industry sector. The Ministry of Industry and Technology reiterated their plan to drop emissions by 18% and energy intensity by 13.5% by 2025. The U.S. Navy station Pearl Harbor has shut off 2 wells in the Hawaiian island Oahu after the World War II era underground Red Hill fuel storage facility leaked jet fuel into the drinking water. One of these wells was the largest one for the capital city, Honolulu, so thousands have been displaced by this. A former commissioner on the Hawaii State Water Resource Management Commission said this problem has been ongoing for years. The Department of Health has ordered the Navy to immediately install a drinking water treatment plant and drain every underwater oil storage tank there. Hawaii State has ordered the Navy to shut down the plant permanently. The Navy said it will evaluate the options of the water treatment plant and is contesting the shutdown request, though they have halted operations there since November 27th. They said that they will keep it shut down until a thorough investigation can take place. Global food prices are at the highest that they have been in over a decade. That explains my grocery shopping experience yesterday. Definitely not because I decided to shop hungry. Extreme weather events and the pandemic are largely to blame. In the US, this price hike has mainly been on dairy and grain products, mainly wheat, because drought and heat caused a 40% decline in wheat production this spring. This might have cost the US agriculture sector over $5 billion. We now know from a Chinese study that China used cloud seeding to drop the air pollution in Beijing for the Olympic Games. Cloud seeding is a geoengineering technique that involves putting chemicals like silver iodide into clouds to encourage them to drop water. The chemicals cause water droplets to form around them, making them heavy enough to drop. While other countries have done this, such as Saudi Arabia and I believe India, China has spent billions of dollars to test the method's degree of effectiveness. About a month ago, the White House held its first Tribal Leaders Summit since 2016. During it, Biden announced initiatives to pursue more collaborative public lands management strategies with tribes and incorporate traditional ecological knowledge into federal agencies' scientific analysis of projects. A memorandum of understanding was signed by 17 federal agencies promising to work on this. Power Edison, a utility-scaled battery company, announced plans for an EV charging hub in New Jersey with the ability to support 200 megawatts. The location they chose for it serves one of the country's busiest seaport complexes, making it one of the largest EV charging facilities announced so far in the US. Hubs are important to have until EV charging networks can be built. London's Thames River came back from the biological dead since the 1950s after experiencing mass plastic pollution and sewage. So it's back. It hosts all kinds of wildlife like river sharks, eels, seals, and even seahorses. There's still room to grow, and the Thames Tidal Wave Tunnel, which will be able to capture 95% of sewage spills, will be completed in 2025. Toyota announced plans to build an EV battery manufacturing plant in North Carolina. This is expected to be completed in 2025 and bring in 1,750 jobs to the area. I noticed a lot of EV factories are being built in more conservative states. I'm wondering if this will help detach areas from their interest in fossil fuels, because communities will become split between clean energy jobs and fossil fuel jobs. Just a thought. Let me know what you think. Then the Edison Electric Institute rolled out to the National Electric Highway Coalition, merging the Electric Highway Coalition and the Midwest Electric Vehicle Charging Infrastructure Collaboration, and bringing new companies. Thank heavens, because those were a mouthful. Overall, the initiative now includes 50 power companies, including heavyweights, and strengthens the push for EV charging around the US. Quote, "The coalition is committed to providing electric vehicles, EVs, fast charging ports that will allow the public to drive EVs with confidence along major US travel corridors by the end of 2023. Perfect. I'm hoping to get my electric vehicle by 2024. The Virginia Air Pollution Control Board voted to deny a key permit to the Mountain Valley Pipeline Company, potentially dismantling a proposed 75-mile extension of the gas pipeline into North Carolina. The board stated that the plan would violate Virginia's new Environmental Justice Act, which requires state regulators to consider whether a new project will cause disproportionate environmental harm to a particular demographic. Many neighborhoods that would be around the project are low income and people of color. A new study by the French consultancy firm Terra found that between 2002 and 2012, there has been 18,063 oil slicks in the Gulf of Guinea. Oil slick is a blanket term that refers to both leaks and spills. Terra used satellite imagery from their satellite that launched in 2002 to keep track. The worst year was 2008, when oil spills covered about 390 square miles. Nigeria is by far the most impacted country, and its environmental consequences have been well documented. And while companies like Exxon and Shell were penalized for a few of the big ones, most have gone unnoticed by legal authorities. Carbon emissions from wildfires hit a new record this year as fires burned from Serbia to Turkey to the Pacific Northwest. The EU's Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Service determined wildfires around the world released double the emissions of Germany, which is the 6th top emitting country in the world, by the way. Side note, but did you know that if we look at countries themselves and basically like split up the EU, Japan is the 5th largest carbon emitter? I feel like they've totally slid under the radar on that. So the top 5 emitters, if you were to split up the EU, would be China, the US, India, Russia, and Japan. I also found it interesting that if you look at the emissions per capita, which is like carbon footprint per person, the top 5 emitters in order are Saudi Arabia, Australia, the US, Canada, and then with a big drop, South Korea. Let me know if any of that surprised you. I just found all that quite interesting because I am a nerd with data. BP acquired Amplify Power, a 3-year-old EV tech startup that helps vehicle fleets manage and optimize charging time. The U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, or DFC, is loaning First Solar $500 million to build a major module factory in India. This is the largest debt financing transaction in the DFC's history and could add competition to the international solar market that is currently taken up by China. The Biden administration has officially approved more oil and gas drilling permits on public lands than Trump in his first year, according to a Public Citizen report. The current administration is averaging about 333 drilling permits a month, which is about 35% higher than in 2017. Earth Month saw the largest number at 652, but it has since trended downward. Now again, Biden tried to stop leasing drilling sites on public lands altogether at the beginning of his presidency, but was quickly sued by Republican politicians and fossil fuel companies. But a new report found that the Biden administration wasn't forced by the court ruling to keep leasing lands and waters. A memo by the Justice Department says just as much. Quote, while the order rejoins and restrains the Department of Interior from implementing the pause, it does not compel Interior to take the action specified by plaintiffs, let alone on the urgent timeline specified in plaintiffs' contempt motion. Greece unveiled a draft of a new climate law last month, which I totally missed, so here it is. In it, the country, which is the most coal-reliant country in the EU, commits to phasing down coal production within the next 6 years. This is even faster than the timeline that the pledge made by over 40 countries during COP26 had. Granted, Greece's government had previously promised to phase down coal by 2025, so this is them stepping their timeline back. But it's still good if they keep this one. Greece also promised in this proposed legislation to ban gas and diesel powered cars by 2030, which is 5 years earlier than the EU proposed ban. And Greece also proposed to ban all buildings from using oil heating and will require solar panels on some industrial buildings by 2025. Another news point I missed is there's been an update to the hockey stick graph. You know, the famous graph that shows the dramatic increase in global temperatures after the Industrial Revolution. Well, new data analysis technology has increased the accuracy of the graph. And you can learn more about that in a recent video by Simon Clark, which I will of course link below and above. Basically, the increase in global temperatures is more extreme than we previously thought, so love that for us. A new report by the Center for Progress Reform calculated that the chemical industry, think plastic fertilizers and synthetic rubber, produce around 7% of global carbon emissions. All the products I mentioned are made from fossil fuels, but this fact has not been prioritized by governing bodies so far. And the percent is expected to rise, with emissions from this sector increasing by 43% in the US alone in the last 20 years. So it's just going to keep going up. I did a video on the connection between plastic and fossil fuels, which you can find up above. The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, or FAO, released a report covering how harmful plastic use in agriculture is to the environment. Because plastic contaminated by organic matter cannot be recycled, most plastic you see covering crops gets burned, buried, or lost after use. This contributes to an influx in microplastics in our soil and waters, and burning plastic introduces toxic chemicals into the atmosphere. Global agriculture accounts for about 12.5 million tons of plastic in 2019, with an additional 37.5 million tons from plastic packaging. Unless we rethink plastic in our food system, the impact of agriculture plastic is expected to rise significantly in the next 10 years. MSCI, an investment research and data firm, released a list of trends and topics to watch in the environmental, social, and governance spaces, or ESG. Here's the executive summary titles of the top 10 trends to look for. I put on the screen their descriptions of each topic so you can pause to read each one of them. 1. The new Amazon effect. Corporates pushing corporates for net zero supply chains. 2. Private company emissions under public scrutiny. 3. The coal conundrum, rethinking divestment. 4. No plan B, financing climate adaptation. 5. Greenwashing resides as common ESG language emerges. 6. Regulation at the crossroads, convergence or fragmentation. 7. Putting ESG ratings in their rightful place. 8. Coffee versus burgers, biodiversity and the future of food. 9. Bacteria rising, another health crisis looms. And 10. Just transition, finding the nexus of need and investability. You can check out their full report in the source link below. Biden announced a new executive order December 8th called Catalyzing Clean Energy Industries and Jobs Through Federal Sustainability, where he laid out federal climate goals and clean technology procurement targets. Some of these goals include 100% carbon-free power in federal operations by 2030, 100% of government light-duty vehicle fleet purchases to be zero emissions by 2027, 2035 for mid and heavy duty vehicles, and a 50% reduction in building emissions by 2032. While the government is a small fraction of the overall economy, the US government is still the biggest spender and can help push clean energy technology into the market, driving down prices. Quote, "It's a similar strategy to what China is doing successfully, leveraging the purchasing power of the government to create demand that markets can meet." The Aspen Institute, with support from ClimateWorks Foundation, released a report detailing a strategy for fairly exploring the ocean as a possible carbon removal site. The ocean already removes about 40% of human-made CO2 emissions since the industrial age, but this has resulted in the ocean becoming more acidic, harming marine organisms. Several possibilities to capture more carbon in the ocean safely without dropping its pH further and actually helping improve that problem includes planting mangroves and kelp forests. Similarly, the National Academies of Science also came out with ideas on how to use the ocean to remove and store more carbon. And then they proceeded to put it behind a paywall, so I have not read it. But they did do a panel discussion, which I will link below. Virginia's new governor has vowed to exit the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, a regional carbon emissions trading program, calling it a carbon tax. Okay, because you know, taxes equal bad automatically. Virginia became the first state in the South to join that initiative in 2020. According to a ProPublica analysis, the owner of the Deepwater Horizon rig and responsible company, Taylor Energy, has made $444 million from 2005 to 2018 and paid zero federal income taxes during that time. That's right. Phyllis Taylor allegedly used the money that was supposed to go to cleaning up the spill to give herself a legal 9-figure tax write-off. But the system is fine. Over in Italy, the energy storage startup Energy Dome is starting a commercial demo project on the island of Sardinia for the utility company A2A. Energy Dome is arguably the fastest growing utility scale long duration energy storage company right now. What makes the company unique is that Energy Dome uses pre-existing technology, meaning that they don't need to build a factory, and instead they can just purchase their equipment from existing suppliers. You can learn more about their technology by clicking the link in the source link. Lol. Why did I read it like that? Source link. Lol. Back to the US, and on December 10th, Nebraska became the first Republican-dominated state to commit to reaching net zero emissions by 2050. You know what? The markets did it for them. The state's largest utility board, Nebraska Public Power District, voted to aim for net zero emissions. The other two utility companies in the state made similar moves already last year. The utility company still needs to formalize concrete plans to meet the goal, but this is still a very big win for climate action in the US. General Motors signed 2 mineral deals for their electric car fleet, one with MP Minerals, the only rare earth mine in California, and the other with a German company, VAC, to build a magnet factory in the US. This is showing a further push for companies to keep EV industry domestic. Some follow-up good news: the Sinclair Point Energy, who was ditched last month by Shell on the Cambo oil field development project off of Shetland, UK, has officially paused the project. The US Energy Information Administration, EIA, not IEA, EIA, announced it expects the US to become the world's largest exporter of liquefied methane gas by the end of next year, beating out Australia and Qatar. Asia is the largest importer of US gas, but it is also big in Europe and Latin America. So good for us? A new study published in the journal Science found that tropical forests can recover quickly from deforestation on their own if given a chance, potentially in less than a decade, which is amazing. Boy, the earth is really just doing everything it can for us. This is due to oil fertility in deforested areas. Quote, "It does provide a glimmer of hope for this process of tropical reforestation. My only caution is I don't think it's ever a substitute for the importance of saving big trees and old growth forests." Almost 100 people were killed by tornadoes in Kentucky and 5 nearby states, a rare occurrence for the winter. While it's hard to connect climate change to specific events, the jet stream being out of whack, which I mentioned earlier in the video, might have laid out favorable conditions for this many storms to emerge. As a larger picture, tornado occurrences is increasing in the mid-south and southeast states compared to the plains states, and tornadoes are becoming more variable from year to year. A study before the event predicted tornadoes to get stronger and stay on the ground longer in a warmer world. And the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, chief came out afterwards saying this. Quote, "This is going to be our new normal, and the effects that we're seeing from climate change are the crisis of our generation. We'll continue to work on helping to reduce the impacts, but we're also prepared to respond to any community that gets impacted by one of these severe events." And corresponding to that, in the same area, on Wednesday, December 15th, 2 records were beaten. One for the number of hurricane gust wind reports from thunderstorms in a single day in the lower 48 states since the data began in 2004, and the other record was the number of tornado warnings ever issued in South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, and Minnesota during the month of December. And now, very strong winds have spread wildfires across Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. In December. The Biden administration, per its COP26 promise, announced that it would officially stop aid for offshore fossil fuel financing projects. The solar industry is now expected to grow 25% less in 2022 than previously predicted due to supply chain issues. But it's still a fast rising industry, increasing by 33% from 2020 to 2021 as the costs have declined 12% between 2019 and 2021. A new report by the First Street Foundation and Arab found that U.S. businesses could lose more than 3.1 million days of operation next year due to increased flood risks. This might go up to 4 million days by 2051. It's the first report that looks at the vulnerability of commercial real estate, where previous reports have looked at residential and critical infrastructure. California, Florida, New York, and Pennsylvania look like they will be hit hard next year. And Texas, Louisiana, Florida, Delaware, and South Carolina look like they will be hit the hardest between 2022 and 2051. Scotland demolished its last coal-fired plant with a ceremonial demolition of its chimney, led by the country's minister, Nicola Sturgeon. Quote, "The demolition of the Longament chimney today marks a definitive end of coal power in Scotland." Scotland's goal is to have half of its energy demand come from renewables by 2030, on the way to become fully carbon neutral by 2045. Currently, 97% of the country's electrical demand comes from clean energy, but that doesn't account for heating or transportation, so those are the areas to improve on. Russia and India vetoed a resolution by the UN Security Council that would have treated climate change as a threat to peace for the first time. China abstained from voting altogether. The resolution was co-sponsored by Niger and Ireland and would have required the UN to look at climate change as a possible cause of conflicts and look for ways to address associated risks. One of the Antarctica's biggest glaciers, Thwaites, might completely collapse in the next 3 to 5 years. Researchers warned this at an annual American Geophysical Union meeting. Roughly the size of Florida, the glacier has potential to raise sea level rise by over 2 feet and could trigger a large collapse of Antarctica. A new report by the Environmental Defense Fund found that the high rates of methane spewing out of the Permian Basin isn't slowing down at all. 40% of the 900 sites there are releasing plumes of methane, 14% of which can be attributed to malfunctioning flares. So what do the other ones say? In many cases, methane leaked for days before being addressed. Speaking of gas, New York City will become the largest state to ban gas appliances in new buildings. The ban will go into effect December 2023 for buildings under 7 stories. Developers argued a delay for the larger buildings until 2027. Former executives of companies like Sierra Club, Beyond Coal, and Energy Innovation have started the Climate Imperative Foundation to provide grants meant to steer big near-term policy decisions in countries with large footprints. The foundation went public a few days ago with a planned budget of $180 million annually over 5 years to provide funding, technical support, and expertise to organizations working on policy. 6 European supermarket chains announced that they would stop selling some or all beef products from Brazil due to links to Amazon deforestation. The chocolate company TCHO, I don't know if there's a proper pronunciation of that, but TCHO announced it was moving away from using milk in its products to reduce its carbon footprint. Their goal is to make their portfolio 100% dairy-free by 2023. And finally, Amplify Energy, which is responsible for the large oil spill off the coast of South California in early October, was charged with negligence, a misdemeanor, and sentenced to 5 years of probation. Woo. And that was the climate news from December 4th to 17th. Which news points did you find the most interesting? Let me know in the comment section below. Yeah, I accidentally deleted my outro, but basically I was just saying to check out the resource section below because there's some interesting links on different things there. And just to remember to talk about the climate crisis every single day and to support your local news organizations. I hope everybody has an awesome holiday and a great new year, and I will see y'all in 2022. Bye. I would like to give a good shout out to the people on Patreon who keep my work going. A special shout out to the Climate Confident and Courageous members, David H., FK, Norman Anul, and Greg H. I greatly appreciate your support.